The ESS Valiant emerged from hyperspace like a bullet from a gun. No announcement, no ceremony, just the hum of engines and the gleam of Terran steel reflecting Harthan Sector's twin suns. Captain Soraya Malik sat in the command chair, one leg draped over the armrest, her fingers curled around a chipped white mug labeled Diplomacy. Coffee first, peace later. Status report, she said, not looking up from her mug. Lieutenant Aiden Reyes, her comms officer, glanced at the scanner. All clear, ma'am? No ships in range yet, but we're broadcasting on local channels per standard contact protocols. Soraya raised an eyebrow. Define standard. He smirked. We opened with a remix of Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys. Good. She leaned forward, eyes locked on the barren moon rotating just outside the viewport. Let's put a flag on it. Commander Asato turned in his chair. That's Corellium-rich territory, kept technically under neutral mining rights according to the Galactic Accord, Soraya interrupted, waving her mug. Yeah, I read the pamphlet. Did you notice how it says neutral? As in, nobody's claimed it. Asato sighed. It also says do not provoke territorial instability. Soraya grinned. I'm not provoking. I'm pioneering. 10 minutes later, a rover deployed on the moon's surface. An old Earth flag, slightly frayed, stars faded from wash cycles, was hoisted into the regolith. A metal plaque at its base read, Lunar Outpost, Property of Earth. If this flag offends you, grow a flag of your own. The message broadcast went live seconds later. It took only hours before the Harthan delegation arrived. The Harthan vessel didn't so much arrive as descend like an offended noble at a peasant's party. It was a bulbous, gold-plated cruiser, more ornate than practical, covered in ceremonial glyphs that shimmered under the twin suns. The docking transmission alone took 3 minutes, not because of technical issues, but because Harthans believed in a full list of titles and ceremonial greetings. Captain Malik was already bored by the time the visual feed opened. Terran vessel, the alien figure intoned, voice oily and nasal. I am Arch-Envoy Therian of the Harthan Dominion, steward of the sector, keeper of trade accordances, and arbiter of neutral territorial ethics. Malik stared. Cool. I'm Soraya, captain of this ship. Coffee drinker. Lunar squatter. Meme enthusiast. Therian blinked his bulbous eyes. You have unlawfully claimed a sovereign neutral moon, in violation of Interstellar Protocol 47b, subclause. I didn't see your name on it, she interrupted. It is unclaimed because it must remain unclaimed, Therian said, sounding scandalized. That is the agreement of the Accord. Soraya leaned toward the camera, her face unreadable. Let me ask you something, Therian. Is your government planning to mine it? Therian straightened. That is irrelevant, she smiled. Because we are. And we brought sandwiches. There was a long silence on the line. Soraya leaned back in her chair and took a long sip from her mug. Send us your documentation and vacate, Therian said eventually, his voice clipped. Or this matter will be escalated. Escalate it, she replied. We'll wait. Later that day, they didn't have to wait long. Within 4 hours, a small flotilla of Harthan ships, unarmed but broadcasting bright red protocol violation signals, surrounded the Valiant. Commander Asato frowned. They're not attacking, just circling, broadcasting legal citations. Lieutenant Reyes chuckled. We're being paper-bombed with bureaucracy. Soraya stepped onto the bridge with a tablet in hand, scrolling through the incoming complaints. I've read more thrilling obituaries, she muttered. Let's respond. Reyes perked up. With what? Upload everything we've got. Cultural packets. Internet archives. Vintage sitcoms. The good stuff. You want to share Earth culture? No, Lieutenant. I want to unleash it. 12 hours later, Harthan cruiser Justice in Accord. Envoy Therian sat alone in his suite, red-faced and bewildered. Dozens of alien officers stared, slack-jawed, at the main screen in the cruiser's rec room where a Terran show called Brooklyn Nine-Nine was playing. "Why is the loud one so endearing?" one Harthan asked. "Explain to me," another muttered. "The ritual known as hot dog eating contest. Why are they always hugging?" a third hissed. This is emotional manipulation." Therian stormed in, furious. "Turn it off. It's propaganda." "No," one officer whispered. It's brilliant." Back on the Valiant, reports came in fast. Across the system, Harthan ships were intercepting the Terran media streams. At first to gather evidence, then out of curiosity, then because they couldn't stop watching. Soraya sipped her coffee and nodded. "The Ember protocol is live." Commander Asato stared at her. "This was the plan?" She tapped her temple. "You think we sent one ship out here to start a war?" "Nah. We came to start a fanbase." She turned to Reyes. "Get ready. The real fight doesn't need weapons." He grinned. "What's it need?" She smiled, eyes gleaming. "It needs followers." When the Ember protocol was first drafted back on Earth, it had no fanfare. No parade. No stern committee hearings. It wasn't filed under weapons or first contact procedures. It was listed under cultural outreach, next to tourism grants and indie film subsidies. But buried in that obscure document was a line: "In the event of interstellar hostility or rejection of Terran diplomatic presence, initiate cultural saturation." The goal: not submission, but seduction. To the brass back home, it was an afterthought. To Captain Soraya Malik, it was a game changer. And now it was live. The SS Valiant transformed overnight into a broadcast station. Every external channel, every local comms relay, every passive frequency beacon, all hijacked to transmit humanity's strangest, brightest, loudest content. At first, it was subtle. A Terran pop song slipped into a system-wide navigation satellite. An episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air looped quietly in the background of an asteroid refinery's daily ops. Then came the surge. Entire comedy playlists uploaded to Harthan educational servers. TikTok dance compilations rendered in 8D audio for alien auditory ranges. Anime dubbed into trade pidgin. A translated copy of The Art of War sent directly to mercantile guilds with a caption that read, "Step up your strategy game." And people, aliens, bureaucrats, rebels, nobles, watched. Vorton Outpost 5, 4 days later. The Vortons were supposed to be emotionless. Tall, insectal beings wrapped in silk robes and stoic ritual, they hadn't laughed in 300 years. Humor was seen as a sign of instability. Until Monty Python and the Holy Grail reached their cultural archives, the outpost commander, High Spine Over, was the first to crack. Surveillance footage later showed him watching the Black Knight, seen alone, shuddering with silent spasms until finally, against generations of conditioning, he wheezed. By the next day, the Vorton Communications Center was down. Not because of sabotage, because all 8 operators were rewatching Earth sitcoms and quoting lines. They tried to ban it, but by then it was too late. The memes had taken root. Zarthian megapolis, core world. The Zarths were reptilian and orderly. They valued logic, hierarchy, precision. They were also, unfortunately, very online. Their youth devoured Earth content like oxygen. Zarthian TikToks began flooding the galactic net. Warriors doing Naruto hand signs before battle simulations. Engineers blasting lo-fi hip-hop while installing plasma conduits. Philosophers quoting the Matrix unironically in policy debates. And one particular Zarthian influencer, a bright green juvenile named Skrill, gained 1.2 billion galactic followers after staging a full dramatic recreation of Gladiator using only sand puppets and broken droid parts. When the High Council tried to delete his account, the Zarthian youth rioted. Captain Malik's log. Phase 2 is progressing better than expected. I thought maybe a few border colonies would nibble at the bait. Instead, entire systems are binge-watching our chaos and asking for more. They call us barbarians. But what we really are is a spark. They've built this sterile, glass-walled galaxy and called it peace. We're just showing them how to dance in it. Council response classified briefing. Inside the High Council's war chambers, 12 species met in a rare emergency summit. Their faces were a tapestry of scales, fur, shells, and synth interfaces, all equally confused and increasingly alarmed. This is not warfare, spat Counselor VRYX of the Scully. There are no ships, no weapons, no bloodshed, yet systems are falling to Terran influence. They call it fandom, muttered a Rel ambassador. A form of ritual loyalty tied to cultural artifacts. It's insidious. They don't occupy space, growled the Harthan envoy, pale with disbelief. They occupy minds. The council tried issuing warnings, banning Terran content, declaring Earth a cultural containment zone. That only made us trend harder. Scene: Pirate Station E99, unregulated trade zone. At the edge of lawful space, a station that once hosted arms deals and smuggled tech now played host to a cosplay convention. 1,000 different species, former mercs, exiles, nomads, now dressed as Earth characters. A cyborg in Mandalorian armor debated politics with a Martian dressed as Mr. Spock. A pair of twin-headed Grelax performed Shakespeare in perfect iambic pentameter, their six eyes glittering with stage lights. And over it all, a giant screen played an old Terran film. Life finds a way. The crowd roared in applause. Back on the Valiant, Commander Asato stared at the reports flooding in. "Ma'am," he said slowly. They're not resisting us." Soraya smiled. "Of course not. They're joining us because we didn't bring weapons," she said. "We brought a mirror, and they're seeing themselves in it." She turned toward the stars, eyes blazing. "They're just now remembering what it feels like to be alive. Lask Prime was never supposed to matter. It was a Class 3 industrial moon orbiting a forgotten gas giant in the outer crescent. A drab sphere of scorched soil and iron quarries populated by labor castes bred for compliance and silence. Miners toiled in 12-hour shifts under the flickering light of artificial suns. They ate nutrient paste. They listened to state-approved drone music. Their downtime consisted of sitting quietly in communal rest pits and staring at blank gray walls. That was the point. Lask Prime was designed not to feel. Until one day, someone discovered a bootleg Terran file buried inside an old mining drone. It was a movie, Braveheart. They watched it in secret, huddled in the dark. The glow of the screen painting blue light across their dust-streaked faces. They didn't understand every word, but they felt it. The speeches, the defiance, the swelling music, the line that echoed through their minds like thunder. "They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom." By the third viewing, they were quoting it. By the fifth, they had dyed their mining uniforms blue. By the 10th, they stopped working altogether. Lask Prime Communications Hub, 1 week later. Subcoordinator Reln Var stared in horror at the footage streaming from security drones. Miners were parading through the central district, not with weapons, but flags. Homemade banners of Earth heroes. Quotes from Terran films painted on steel plates. Entire work crews marching in rhythm to Queen's "We Will Rock You." Boots pounding in time. "This is impossible," Reln muttered. They were compliant, trained for stability. An assistant gasped. "They're building a stage." "What for?" The screen zoomed in. Atop the makeshift stage, a six-armed miner adjusted a headset mic. "Tonight," he boomed, "we perform Les Miserables, recast with full Lask dialect." The crowd exploded in cheers. Relm fainted. Council directive, immediate containment. The response was swift. A Council enforcement cruiser arrived within hours, bristling with non-lethal suppressors and PSYOPs drones. They expected an easy pacification. Instead, they met a wall of song. The miners had wired their entire network into sonic projectors. As the cruisers entered orbit, they were blasted with, "Do you hear the people sing?" Singing the song of angry men. It was defiance in surround sound. Then came the viral feeds. Drone footage of the protest was intercepted and uploaded to the Galactic Net by unknown sources. Hashtags bloomed. Hashtag Lask Rising. Hashtag Terran Spirit. Hashtag Freedom is a playlist. Suddenly, millions were watching. Back on the Valiant. Lieutenant Reyes stared at the trending feed in disbelief. They've gone full musical revolution. Captain Malik leaned back, hands behind her head. Told you. Culture isn't entertainment. It's inspiration. Asato frowned. We didn't plan for this. We didn't have to, Soraya said. We just lit the ember. He raised an eyebrow. And now, she grinned. Now the galaxy learns what happens when fire spreads. Last Prime 2 weeks later, the Council sent a second wave. Larger. Harsher. Armed. They expected submission. Instead, they found unity. Alien miners stood shoulder to shoulder, unarmed but unyielding. They sang, they chanted, they held hands and quoted Terran revolutionaries. One worker yelled at a council trooper, "I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees." Another roared, "You can't cancel the signal." The council's suppression drones paused. Some refused to fire. One drone hovered in place for a full minute, streaming Earth music to the blockade before self-deactivating. The fleet commander retreated, citing anomalous morale failure. Aftermath, the last Prime Accord. The uprising could not be erased. The Council, embarrassed and unsure how to respond to a musical rebellion, declared the moon an autonomous zone. The miners renamed it New Terra Minor. Within days, ships from across the quadrant arrived, not for conquest but to join. Artists, smugglers, poets, dreamers. They didn't come for safety, they came for meaning. Captain Malik's log. We didn't give them weapons. We gave them words. And sometimes that's stronger. Last Prime stood up and the galaxy noticed. What started as a whisper is now a roar. That completes Chapter 3. The uprising of Last Prime approximate 2,000 plus words when formatted into full prose. Up next, Chapter 4. The Council Strikes Back. Desperate countermeasures by the Galactic Accord. Cultural censorship, propaganda wars, mimetic suppression. Humanity's retaliation, open source rebellion, viral resistance. The Galactic Accord had stood for over 7 millennia. It survived wars, plagues, system collapses, and even a black hole migration. It enforced peace with order, not empathy. Uniformity, not unity. But it had never faced a threat like Earth. Not warships, not superweapons, culture. And now entire worlds were humming Terran pop songs and quoting Earth philosophers. Systems once obedient were turning chaotic. Art was blooming like wildfire, unpredictable and unstoppable. The Accord had one answer: control. The Edict of Containment, a formal declaration. Cold, precise, delivered via encrypted beacons to every system under Accord jurisdiction. The dissemination, consumption, or propagation of Terran cultural artifacts is henceforth considered mimetic subversion. All such materials are to be confiscated. Offenders will face memory scrubs, exile, or planetary lockout. Ships were rerouted. Archives wiped. Libraries purged. Entire moons were placed under cultural quarantine. They called it Operation Purity. Vorton Central Archive, Sector 7. Robed purifiers entered with black visors and silence. Their goal: erase every trace of Terran influence. But the librarians resisted. They'd once been neutral caretakers. But after binging every Terran book from Shakespeare to Stephen King, they'd changed. And they had a plan. When the Purge team reached the archive's main vault, they found a single datapad resting on a pedestal. A quote blinked on the screen. Ideas are bulletproof. V for Vendetta. Then every terminal in the building lit up at once, and from hidden speakers. Welcome to the internet, have a look around. The purifiers ran. Mimetic warfare begins. With official archives under siege, Earth culture went underground. Encrypted data couriers popped up on rogue asteroids. Whispernets distributed 8K anime to black market vendors. Pirate radio stations blasted and censored Terran comedy across planetary defense channels. Resistance groups formed, not with weapons, but with content. They called themselves the Ember Net. They didn't fight with guns. They fought with viral videos of kittens interrupting diplomatic speeches, deepfakes of council members singing boy band lyrics, bootleg Terran musicals dubbed in 300 languages. The Accord tried to shut it down. They only made it more popular. Council Propaganda Division. Counselor Threx, head of the new Mimetic Response Bureau, initiated counterculture ops, sanitized knockoff sitcoms. The Human Family, critics called it soulless and weirdly damp, manufactured safe music, endless loops of pleasant tones and mild encouragement. A heavily edited version of Star Wars where the Empire wins, the Jedi are accountants, and there's no music. It backfired badly. Within a month, a remix of their propaganda theme was trending across 6 systems. Aliens were dancing to the very sound meant to indoctrinate them. One hit single emerged from the chaos, Droid, Please, performed by a blue-skinned rapper named Kilodar and featuring actual council slogans auto-tuned into oblivion. Back on the Valiant, the crew sat in the rec deck watching a newsfeed. Protests continue on 6 Accord worlds where cultural lockdowns have failed to stem the influence of Terran memes. In today's top viral feed, a Hearthen elder publicly declared, "I regret to inform the council I am now a Swiftie." Reyes chuckled. "We've broken their brains." Commander Asato rubbed his temples. "This was never meant to be warfare." "What is this?" Soraya Malik sipped her coffee, smiling faintly. "This is evolution." She turned to the bridge crew. "They tried to erase us, but you can't delete an idea once it's been felt." Meanwhile, aboard the Council flagship, Council Chair Virex paced angrily across the command deck. "We are losing the hearts of our citizens." An aide nodded, pale. They don't believe us anymore." "Then we give them a villain," Virex growled. "We give them Earth." A new directive was issued. Earth is now classified as a rogue world. All humans are declared mimetic contaminants. The Ember Protocol is a threat to galactic civilization. The final message was broadcast system-wide. The Ember Net's response. The next day, a new video dropped. A simple montage. Lask miners singing. Zarth kids dancing. Vorton librarians laughing. Alien soldiers painting murals of Terran icons in old bomb shelters. Then the voice of Captain Malik, layered over slow piano. "Maybe chaos is just what growth feels like at first. Maybe order without joy isn't peace. It's just quiet oppression. And maybe, just maybe, freedom starts with a song and ends with a galaxy singing along." They tried to censor Earth. They tried to contain the Ember Protocol. They declared humanity a mimetic contaminant and rogue element. But that was all before the broadcast. Somewhere in Sol System Secure Comms Relay Omega, it began with a flicker. Across the galaxy, screens glitched for a fraction of a second. Hollow billboards, data slates, neural interfaces all blinked, paused, and shifted. No announcement, no signature, just a fade to black followed by a face. Human, young, brown skin, tight curls under a beanie. No uniform, no rank, just authenticity. He leaned in, looked straight into 1,000 kinds of camera across 1,000,000 species and said, "Hey, you don't know me, but I'm Terran, and I've got something to say." The broadcast. "You've heard a lot about us, that we're dangerous, that we're unstable, that we're corrupting your perfect little system. You're right. We are dangerous because we ask questions. We are unstable because we refuse to accept the world the way it is. And yeah, we are corrupting things. We're corrupting apathy. We're corrupting obedience. We're corrupting the idea that joy should be rationed and freedom should be earned. We don't want your throne. We don't want your chains. We just want to be heard. A pause. Then the screen split thousands of faces. Humans, aliens, hybrids, all smiling, laughing, crying, dancing. We're not just from Earth anymore. We're from everywhere the Ember has touched. We are a movement. And movements don't need armies. Just voices. Reaction across the galaxy. On Lask Prime, miners stopped their shifts, turned toward communal screens, cheered. On Vorton Outpost 5, High Spine Over, once emotionless, whispered, "I feel proud." On the Council Core world, the streets flooded with people, chanting, singing, not rebels, not terrorists, fans. The phrase spread like wildfire. We are Emberborn, the Council's last move. In the Council War Chamber, Chair Virex watched the numbers spike. Billions viewed, trillions reposted. He slammed his fist into the console. Shut it down. Wipe the net. No use, and Aid whispered. It's everywhere. Decentralized. Re-uploaded faster than we can purge. Then we silence Earth itself. He pointed at the star chart. Deploy the fleet. Back on the Valiant. Captain Soraya Malik stood on the bridge as the news broke. They're coming for Earth, Asato said. Full fleet. High-orbit decimation protocol. Reyes swore under his breath. It's over. She turned fire in her eyes. Now it's just beginning. She opened comms. To all Emberborn ships. To every artist, hacker, smuggler, rebel, and dreamer. The Council is coming for the heart of the movement. It's time to stand together. The fleet arrived in Seoul on a Tuesday. 8 capital-class dreadnoughts, 42 strike cruisers, hundreds of fighter swarms. Enough firepower to glass Earth 3 times over. They didn't bother with diplomacy. The Council's orders were clear: decapitate the contagion before it consumes us all. But they didn't find silence. They didn't find surrender. They found music. Low-orbit Earth. As the fleet took formation above the blue and green jewel of Seoul, something strange happened. The entire planet lit up, holograms projecting massive symbols into space. Not threats, not weapons. Art. From Cairo to Sao Paulo, from Melbourne to Nairobi, the clouds glowed with human stories. A mural of a Vorton child painting beside a Terran. A video of miners from Lask Prime holding hands with Earth engineers. A symphony echoing Beethoven's 9th, then merging with alien chords. Across every frequency, a singular signal was broadcast in every known language. We will not fight. We will not kneel. We invite. Fleet flagship Judicator Virex. Admiral Ulox stared at the planet below. They're not resisting, not even defending themselves. It's a performance. Chair Virex's voice crackled through the comms. Destroy them. Now. But Ulox hesitated. He wasn't human. He had fought humans before, but never like this. On every screen aboard the Judicator, humans and aliens danced together, cried together, lived together. Then a message came through directly to his private channel. You can fire, you can obey, or you can feel. What kind of legacy will you leave? Soraya Malik. The mutiny. Ulox stood before his command crew. I will not commit genocide against hope. He turned off the targeting systems. The bridge fell silent. One by one, the ships across the fleet did the same. First one, then 5, then all of them. The Council fleet powered down their weapons and began transmitting the signal Earth had sent. We invite. Across the galaxy, the collapse was not violent. It was graceful. Worlds once under iron rule began questioning. Singing. Sharing. Council officials found themselves ignored. Their orders laughed at. Their laws rewritten by popular vote. The Ember Protocol was no longer a protocol. It was a revolution of thought. A new galactic identity. You were not born human, but you could choose to be Emberborn, a citizen of a new kind of civilization built not on blood, but on belief. Earth, 1 month later, the Galactic Accord was dissolved peacefully. A new alliance formed, not by conquest or politics, but by shared creation. The first galactic cultural exchange launched from Earth's moonbase. No weapons, just books, music, art, language, and dreams. Captain Soraya Malik, now Ambassador at Large, stood before the crowd as humanity addressed the galaxy again. We never wanted to lead. We just wanted to dance together. And we believed the stars were meant for everyone. So if you're out there, hurting, hiding, hoping, this is your invitation. Join us. Be Emberborn. Final lines, Valiant's log. But they misunderstood. It wasn't our ships. It was our stories. The fire didn't destroy. It lit the way.